up, y'all? How y'all doing? Thank you for joining me. This is Plant-Based with Nicole, and I'm your host, Nicole Richey. What's up, y'all? I hope y'all having a wonderful day. Today, I am doing a part 2 with Tribe by Noir. If you were around, I interviewed him 2 weeks ago. Make sure you go check out part 1, because this brother has some knowledge, okay? He came on with the came on. I don't know what that means, but I don't even know what that means, but it just came out of my mouth. But the point is, this brother has some knowledge. He's dope. Okay. And I was like, I got to bring you back. And so we're going to do it. Today's different. I'm not doing like a interview, right? I'm not interviewing him. It's more for you guys to ask him questions. So the best way to do it is put your questions in the question box. It's easier for me to see. I'll probably start off one question and then you guys can just go from there. And I might be willing to bring 1 or 2 people on to ask him directly. You get one question, and then when he answers it, you got to get off, okay? I enjoyed him so much that we are actually going to start something in about 2 or 3 weeks. We're bi-weekly. It's going to be like a Q&A forum. I'm not going to tell you the name of the podcast yet. I mean, it's not a podcast. It's just us going live. I'm not going to tell you the name. Remson, if you're watching, we have to change the name because I found out that someone else has that name and I don't want to have no copyright issues. All right. So I'm going to bring them on. You guys get your questions ready. Put them in the question box. All right. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you. Thank you. Share the live, y'all. Wait a minute. Oh, someone else requested to join. That's not you, Remson. Go ahead and request to join. Thank you guys for joining. I'm Nicole Richey, in case you missed it. This is Plant-Based with Nicole podcast. I'm just waiting for my guests. Go ahead and request to join. Remson, how's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing well today. Sorry, Teresa, I can't accept you just yet. But in a moment, when I accepted it, Remson. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. There it is.
There we go.
What's up?
All right.
This is my new homie. What's up, Remson?
I'm doing pretty well. Can you hear me clearly?
I can. Can everybody hear us both? You were able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When
you were on there. How are you doing? Busy butt? You're busy butt.
I'm doing pretty well today. You know, can't complain. I got this is what I'm getting into here today.
What's that? Corn?
Oh no, I'm not eating corn. This is cooked chickpeas, avocado, roasted cashews with red lentil sauce. Right, this is one of my favorites here.
You're playing.
I got a whole avocado in here. I got chickpeas in here, roasted cashews, and the red lentil sauce. What I did was I boiled lentils, and then I put in tomato sauce, curry, cumin, turmeric, sea salt, cayenne pepper, taco seasoning, a bunch of things, right? So seasoned up. Yeah, so it's real well seasoned, like I like the most things, right? Aside from like fruit or whatever, but.
That's very important.
This is what we're doing tonight.
You got to season the food. Mm-hmm. That sounds good. Okay, is it over rice or quinoa, or is it just what you said?
No rice or quinoa, no grains.
And you see, when I eat like beans or certain things like that, I need quinoa or rice underneath. So you're okay with just with that without that? But that sounds good though.
It's a big meal by itself, but I mean it's hearty by itself.
Yeah, it is. The avocado.
Yeah, because I mean it's a half a cup of cashews in here, and like
are they cooked cashews or raw? I mean, or not raw,
they're roasted cashews.
Oh man, that sounds good. Mm-hmm. What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining. This is a Q&A. My name is Nicole Richey. For those who just tuned in, this is my podcast, and normally I do an interview, but I interviewed Remson 2 weeks ago, and it was a really good interview. Lots of great information. It was almost like I was in school. So y'all go check out part 1. It's on both of our pages. So today is a platform for you guys to ask questions, because I know a lot of you have so many questions, especially those that already follow Remson. And as time goes on, I will bring, a couple people on to ask a question, but there's some rules here, because I had a situation before when I did this. I brought somebody on that wanted to take over my show. He was on there for 10 minutes. I was like, bruh, God bless you, but you got to go. Okay, so you guys get one question, and then after he answers it, then I'll say thank you, and then you can kindly get off, and then someone else can come on. But come on, y'all, don't be shy now. Put the questions in the question box. Okay, so how's your day today, Remson? What'd you do today? Because you've been busy. You ain't been responding to me, and I don't appreciate that. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. It's funny is because I'm not like I'm actually not a big social media person.
You're not?
No, I'm not really a big social media person. Like I wouldn't even be posting on social media unless I had something really important to share.
Oh wow.
But with all of the the plant-based stuff and reversing chronic illness, that's something that's very important to share.
Yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, today I spent a lot of time outside. Walked a couple miles, got an outdoor workout in. I just got off a call previously, so I'm on calls and whatnot, talking to tribe members and things throughout the day. From like 11 or 10 a.m. and then it kind of goes on like that, and I have calls after the stream ends today. So
like nutrition coaching calls.
yeah. So I got my personal text messages, and I got text messages from my business line at Tribe by Noir, and then I have Discord messages from my direct members, and then
Good Lord.
Instagram inbox messages, and then TikTok messages. So
and then you got about 20 messages from me.
so I gotta make my way around through all these different inboxes.
Yeah, you're quite the man. Everybody wants Remson, okay? We have a question, Remson. Omar King 007 says, what's the best ways to get off insulin meds as a type 2?
So there's a few different options. So probably the best option is a raw vegan diet. It's probably the most flexible. A raw vegan diet where the dominant food source is fruit. Secondary is going to be leafy greens as far as volume is concerned, and third would be like nuts and seeds.
Straight up. I love it.
So you can have, like, let's say a bowl of coconut yogurt with blueberries, raspberries, different types of berries, with like chia seeds or flax seeds or hemp seeds mixed in. And depending on how insulin resistant you are, you can even add a banana or two, right? A lot of people say the banana shoots up their blood sugar, which doesn't really matter too much, because your blood sugar during a meal or right after a meal doesn't really matter so much. The thing you want to look for is the trajectory trending downward, right? So as long as your blood sugar comes down to a reasonable rate, in a reasonable amount of time, right? It should start coming down, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If it stays really elevated for a prolonged period of time, that indicates something deeper. That indicates some type of chronic inflammation or something like that, right? But what happens is over time when you eat like that, you get more insulin sensitive over time, which means that glucose uptake into your cells improves pretty much day by day, week after week, and month after month. And you will have to drop your insulin dosage and your metformin dosage and all of that type of stuff. You'll have to. Because if you keep taking the same dosage, you'll wake up like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with your blood sugar at like 40, and cold sweats and feeling clammy and all this, right? And that's happened with people that I've had with who are diabetics. So, they had to stop taking their insulin or reduce the dosage pretty significantly.
Which is good.
Because the insulin sensitivity, right? If you become more insulin sensitive over time, you can't be taking insulin because it'll drive down your blood sugar rapidly. So if you take metformin right before bed and you go to sleep, you wake up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning feeling terrible with really low blood sugar, right? The second option, aside from a raw vegan diet, is 80-10-10, or a modified version of that. 80% carbs, 10% fat, 10% protein, where you're having a mix of raw foods and cooked foods, right? But you're getting the chickpeas and quinoa and kamut, these carb heavy foods, your different assortments of fruits, things like that, leafy greens, but you're not really getting much fat intake, right? Your fat intake is going to be around 10% or like,
Yeah.
I want to say around 30 to 35 grams of fat per day, right? So the fat intake is going to be pretty low. Protein intake is going to be pretty low also, right? So your protein intake on an 80-10-10 diet, at least the way that I structure it, your protein can actually be a bit higher than your fat intake because a lot of carbohydrate-rich plant-based foods are very high in protein. So, for
You said
example, things like
the protein can
yeah,
be a little higher
yeah, the
than the
protein
fat.
can be a little bit higher than the fat, right?
Okay.
And the reason for that is because, let's say, legumes, chickpeas, kamut, quinoa, these things are actually a pretty significant source of protein. So you'll actually get um, well over a gram of protein per kilogram of lean mass if you're actually eating enough. The only way you cannot be getting enough protein is if you're under eating, right, on that type of diet, right?
Yeah.
So kasha, oats, quinoa, kamut. I'm not a very big fan of wheat. The only type of wheat that I
Yeah.
really am a fan of is kamut, which is like an ancient Egyptian grain, which even people with celiac disease they eat fine with it and don't have any problem, any reactions from it, right? Um, but other than that, I'm not like a huge grain person. There's a select few that I like,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much the deal with that. So it's going to be fruits and legumes, things like that. So those are the two predominant options. And then, of course, with the 80-10-10, you can modify it where like protein may be around 16% or so.
Mm-hmm.
Fat may be around 12%, maybe even 15%, but the overall majority of your diet is going to be in between 80 to 65% of your calories, right? Of your calorie intake, let's say for conversation purposes. Those are the two best dietary solutions that, in my experience, that I've learned about and actually used and gotten results from.
It,
Fasting can, yeah,
go ahead. No, no, go.
fasting can work, but the caveat is the stress. So
Mm.
you can actually make insulin resistant worse depending on how you go about fasting. A lot of people who are diabetic undereat, and when you undereat, your metabolism slows down. That can make you more insulin resistant. Undereating is actually very stressful, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is your body compensates for that stress by releasing more cortisol. So what happens, you can actually see an elevation of blood pressure when you start eating again. You can see your blood sugar levels a lot higher when you start eating again if you go through a prolonged fast, right? Because of the stress. You can wake up first thing in the morning, and if you're diabetic, like a type 2 diabetic, you could wake up first thing in the morning and your blood sugar could be like 160, 180, 204, crazy numbers like this, even though you haven't eaten anything, you just woke up. And that's
Mm.
because of the stress, right?
Wow.
So a large part of reversing type 2 diabetes is actually reducing chronic stress, getting your body's stress level down, right? It's not just food that can elevate your blood sugar levels. It's in large part stress. Um, so this is kind of how like you have saturated fat and cholesterol will increase insulin resistance, right? If you cut those things out of your diet, right? So pretty much animal products, especially things like dairy, beef, stuff like that. It's not just the saturated fat and cholesterol that make you more insulin resistant. It's these other things in these foods that cause inflammation to increase, which causes vascular constriction, lack of oxygen, overabundance of protein and other, forms of things, excess cysteine, methionine, etc., and different inflammatory elements of these foods that cause your body to be more insulin resistant. So then you turn around and eat some carbs and your blood sugar goes up and you blame the carbs rather than the thing that laid the foundation for the insulin resistance, right? Um, and then getting off of certain medications. That could be beta blockers, high blood pressure medications, like the thiazide medications and diuretics, right? Things like this. Antidepressant medications, right? Anxiety, depression medications, steroids, things like this can make you more insulin resistant. And when you're on them long term, they make you more insulin resistant long term. So when you cut all your carbohydrates out of your diet, you have a fatty, rich, protein-rich diet, and then you're on these medications, it could just make you even more insulin resistant, right? So it could have the opposite effect of what you think it's supposed to have.
You know, it's funny that like you mentioned that like one of the things is like 80-10-10 with 80% carbs and then 10% protein, 10% fat. Where most people are always saying that carbs is what they're trying to stay away from when they're diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that it's actually okay to have a heavy carb diet when you're eating, when you're diabetic.
It's the food you should eat most of. So
it's interesting.
Diabetes.
Everybody wants to say the opposite, right? They're like, stay away from carbs, stay away from the sugar.
So
like
think about it this way. Yeah, think about it this way. So diabetes, or type 2 diabetes in this case, is largely a result of poor glucose metabolism, poor carbohydrate metabolism, right? You eat carbs, it breaks down into glucose. The glucose doesn't do such a great job of getting into your cells because your cells are not responsive to the insulin that shuttles the glucose into your cells. In order to improve your body's ability to increase glucose intake, you have to constantly engage in that activity of glucose intake. It's kind of like, in order to improve your glucose metabolism, you can't do that by avoiding glucose consumption. It's kind of like you're not going to be able to develop the ability to jump higher while avoiding jumping. Right?
Jump higher while avoiding. Yep.
If you want to get better in something, you have to do the thing, right? You want stronger biceps, you got to do bicep curls. You want to be able to jump higher, you got to practice jumping. Jumping up onto things, jumping up off of things, jumping up and down, jumping forwards, jumping backwards, jumping to the side, all different types of jumping. If you want to improve your glucose intake, you got to eat more forms of glucose, right? You got to eat more forms of carbohydrates. Your body will adapt to the carbohydrate consumption by getting better at glucose intake. Your body adapts to whatever you do the most, right? Yeah. Obesity, in large part, is your body has adapted to consistent food poisoning. Your body has adapted to excess fat consumption. And the adaptation looks like obesity. The adaptation looks like fatty liver. The adaptation looks like excess ectopic fat being stored inside muscle tissue and your pancreas and your liver, etc. Right? Mm-hmm. It looks like visceral fat. It's an adaptation. Right?
Right.
Dropping body fat, getting in shape. That is also an adaptation. But that adaptation occurs from the totality of your habits, whatever you do the most of. So if you remove the carbs, your body doesn't have an incentive to become more insulin sensitive. For what? You're not eating the carbs.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for breaking that down. I have two questions. Somebody said coffee. Don't say coffee, please. I'm having withdrawals. Somebody said coffee, and it just like triggered me because I'm working my way off of coffee.
Somebody wants me to say it?
No. Somebody said coffee. They said, is coffee good to drink? And when I saw coffee, it just it's like putting some crack in front of someone who's it's like putting some drugs in front of someone who's trying to stop taking drugs. Okay, so somebody said coffee, it just triggered me. But somebody says coffee okay to drink, and then is seafood good to eat?
No. I'll start with coffee. Or, in my New York accent, coffee. So coffee is big. No.
Keep on. I want to hear more. Do it again. No.
So basically, over time, it acts as a neurotoxin. It's one of those things where you can get away with having it every once in a while, but it is like a drug, right? Yes, on a molecular structure. The more coffee you ingest, your body develops a resistance to the effects of it, right? So this is why I end up people getting more stronger and stronger, more concentrated forms of caffeine. They start drinking more coffee. So instead of having 1 cup, and you go to 2 cups, and you go to a stronger form, you get a darker one, right? And it keeps escalating. And it becomes like a drug. You start to become resistant to it to the point where you don't feel the effects of it anymore. And then if you stop drinking it, you start getting headaches, lethargia. You feel terrible, right? Because it creates a what's that called when you're a drug addict and then you lose access to the drug, you get withdrawals, right? You start getting withdrawals, and that's headaches and fatigue and it's a miserable experience as a result, right? Um, and I would say, generally speaking, you should avoid anything that has those kinds of priorities where you got to wean yourself off, right? Because it acts as a drug. Because the reason why it acts like that is because it's a neurotoxin. It actually damages your brain's neuroreceptors to the point where it can inhibit dopamine release, dopamine regeneration. It can inhibit melatonin release, right? So you get poor sleep quality and all this type of stuff. It can inhibit serotonin release, serotonin generation, mess with your brain chemistry, right? To the point where you can present as a person who swings back and forth between anxiety and depression.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm working through it. I'm working through my okay, so I started drinking coffee like 6 years ago because of the job I was at. Everybody was drinking it and it just became the thing to do. They were drinking it to function. They were drinking it because they were tired. I was drinking it because I love the taste of it with the creamer, right? But after drinking it almost every day, I take breaks sometimes, like if I'm doing a cleanse. But after drinking it almost every day for 6 years, although I was drinking it for the taste, my body became addicted to it. So, like you mentioned, when I stopped taking it I stopped drinking it a couple of weeks ago. Like for a whole week, I didn't have any at all. I had headaches every day for the first couple of days, right? And now I was like, well, maybe I can. I was like, because I just miss the taste. I was like, maybe I'll just drink it on the weekends. But the point is, I need to stop it altogether because not just the coffee is bad for me, but the creamer, even though it's a non-dairy creamer I'm putting in there, it's added sugar. It's processed sugar that I'm putting in my body when I drink that. And it's not good for me. And I want to be like 100% coffee free like I used to be. Like I didn't even used to drink coffee. I don't know how we got here. I don't no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I need to be like you. So you don't drink coffee at all.
No,
Do you drink
no,
coffee?
no. I've avoided caffeine altogether now, for a
That's
really
good.
long period of time. It's been, I don't know, how many months has it been? It's been quite a few. I don't remember the last time I had like any type of, I wasn't a coffee drinker. My thing was pre-workouts. I used to drink pre-workout
Oh,
powders. And I think I stopped like
okay.
last year sometime.
Okay. You
So I
guys,
don't do the caffeine thing.
that's good. I'm almost there. Like I did a week and then a week without it, and then I was like, I drank some this weekend, and I was like, I'll just drink it on the weekends, and then eventually stop it all. But I do feel like I'm literally, I don't know what it feels like to smoke crack, but I feel like I'm putting crack in my body when I drink coffee with the creamer. That's what I feel like. It tastes so good, but I feel like I'm putting crack in my body. Okay, you guys, the comments are going so quick. That's why I pinned my statement said, if you guys could ask the questions in the question box, it would be a lot easier, because they're going so quick because everybody loves Remson. I do know that somebody asked, stop taking high blood pressure. What happens if you stop taking high blood pressure medicine?
It depends on why you stop taking it and what you're doing to regulate your blood pressure, right? So if you don't make any lifestyle changes and you just stop taking blood pressure medication, you'll just have elevated blood pressure.
Yeah.
But let's say if I stopped taking a blood pressure medication and I started eating grapefruit instead, it's a clean swap. Because a grapefruit will help bring down your blood pressure.
Really?
Yeah. So you have a grapefruit, you have a couple kiwis, a couple tangerines, and a cup of grapes. That'll bring your blood pressure down. You wake up first thing in the morning, you juice beets, carrots, cucumbers, mustard greens, right? and you drink that, they bring down your blood pressure. You have moringa tea first thing in the morning, that bring down your blood pressure.
Nice.
You get a big old bowl of like watermelon or cantaloupe or something like that. It'll bring down your blood pressure. Pretty much all of your food choices all throughout the day can bring down your blood pressure.
Power of
right?
fruit.
Yeah. Deep breathing exercises, that'll bring down your blood pressure. Meditation, that'll bring down your blood pressure. Going to bed earlier, that'll bring down your blood pressure. Right? Drinking ginger tea, that'll bring down your blood pressure. Ginger tea and turmeric, right? As it paired together, that'll bring down your blood pressure. Mm-hmm.
Southern Vegan Eat said, "Hey girl," she said, "hibiscus tea is also great for blood pressure."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's a good milk to drink? I like almond milk. What about you, Remson?
Soy milk.
Soy milk?
I'm a soy boy.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it wasn't good to eat a lot of soy, too much of it.
I mean, I don't really eat a lot of soy. I have like 8 ounces of soy milk a day. I don't know if that's a lot.
Let's see, the question box says, so Vanessa, welcome. He answered this question earlier about what's good for high insulin. So when this is over, you can watch it in the beginning because he had a long answer and it's too much to repeat, right, Remson? But in a nutshell, 80-10-10, 80% carbs, 10% protein, 10%
fat,
right?
Mm-hmm.
But the good kind of carbs, the whole food carbs, not pretzels and crackers.
Whole food carbs.
Yeah.
Whole food carbs. Yeah.
Shirley wants to know what you're eating. He answered that too, but go on and break it down because that sounds real good. Beans.
Yeah.
Chickpeas. Avocado.
Cooked chickpeas. Yeah, cooked chickpeas, roasted cashews, a whole avocado, and red lentil sauce. So basically, a quarter cup of red lentils, put in a blender, and add tomato sauce. And I got a whole laundry list of 6 seasonings I put in this thing: curry, turmeric, sea salt, cayenne pepper, taco seasoning, cumin, a bunch of seasonings like that, and blend it up in the blender, and then pour it over everything and kind of mix it in. And that's what I
just sounds divine and healthy and nutritious.
The red lentil sauce, okay, that's like one of my hacks right there. That's a dietary hack because you can get.
Say you bought that or you made it?
I made it. I boil lentils. I boil lentils and I put it in the blender and I add sauces and seasonings. You can do this. You can make coconut curry sauce. You can make Italian seasoning sauce. You can make curry sauce with it, and it's like a high protein, high carb sauce. And it's
that's
an anti-inflammatory sauce.
I was going to make that this week, actually, coconut curry with vegetables.
There you go. Yeah.
I was going to do that. I was going to do it on the live. Mitchie Kits Soka Cat says, "I'm intolerant to soy, wheat, dairy, gluten, lectins. I'm finding it hard to know what to eat." You know what? I eat like a 95% gluten-free and soy-free diet, Mitchie. And I don't do dairy. And gluten is along with wheat. So I find it's easy. These are the grocery things I would say to buy. Fruit. Okay, you can chime in after I'm done too, Remson. But fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, greens, salads, potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans, and rice. Like those are like the staple foods of a whole foods plant-based diet. And none of those have soy in them. None of those have wheat. And none of those have, what's the other thing she said? Dairy and gluten and stuff. So I feel like if you focus on a whole foods diet, that's not all the processed stuff. It's very, very, you can have smoothies, you can have nice cream, you can make salads with beans on them, use a tahini dressing or whatever dressing you feel, eat lots of fruits and nuts, not a lot of nuts, just to stick to the serving size a day. But stuff like that is all gluten, soy free. And then it'll have you feeling your best because it's whole foods, not processed. You can give your 2 cents or your 5 cents too, Remson.
Yes, that's pretty much it. You also have to be clear about what your food allergies are and what triggers them. So I work with people who had a ton of food allergies. and a lot of the foods that they were allergic to, we went and put in their diet plan. And
What?
yeah, so they had a histamine allergy, and I said, no, you don't.
Histamine. That's like in a medicine, isn't it?
Well,
Histamine.
your body produces histamines
Oh,
in
okay.
response to the ingestion of specific things, right? But your body also produces an enzyme to help counteract the effects of the histamine-rich foods, right? Um, so the problem was that a lot of the times when people have certain food allergies, it's not the food itself, it's that they have a compromised gut. When you focus on rebuilding their gut flora through like probiotic-rich foods, prebiotics, right, which are the insoluble fiber that feeds your gut flora, right? Probiotics being the gut bacteria. Once you have a diet that's primarily raw, that facilitates the rebuilding of the gut microbiome, that is how you reverse a lot of your food allergies, right? So your food,
Eating a
your
raw
allergies,
diet,
yeah,
primarily raw
your
diet.
allergies a lot of the time are not even permanent. I used to have seasonal allergies, real bad. Step outside, eyes crazy, itchy, face swollen, sinus infections, all types of stuff, right? And I was in massive pain when the allergy season kicked in, and it was debilitating. Now, I don't know what it feels like to have seasonal allergies. I was
That's
allergic to
great.
cats, or any type of pet dander, all of that, right? Don't have it anymore, right?
Because
I've
your
had
diet.
people on my YouTube channel. I had an interview with somebody who had all kind of food allergies, and we reversed her food allergies. She dropped like 15 pounds and 4 inches off her waist in 12 weeks.
Wow.
And we didn't avoid the histamine foods. So
Interesting.
food allergies is a little bit of it's not really cut and dry.
Yeah.
I have somebody right now who they have tons of food allergies. Where it came back, they were allergic to like carrots and strawberries and apples and watermelon and all
What?
types of stuff. They were,
Oh,
yeah. So
that's
like they would be all itchy and everything like that. And they have bad, they would get really inflamed. Their skin would balloon up, their face would balloon up, and they were diagnosed with hypothyroid, Hashimoto's. And then it turns to find out, asking them questions, and you realize, they smoked weed for a long period of time in their life. They got a fatty liver. They drank a lot of alcohol. They're very overweight. Chronic stress, life traumas. A lot of trauma that come from a result of abuse and things like that. All of these things have to be taken into account. We can't just look at the food allergies and just, we're going to avoid all that. What you have to do is you have to get the inflammation down long enough and build their gut health so that they no longer have those food allergies. Right?
right.
So when your gut health is poor, you'd be allergic to everything. You ain't eat nothing without having a reaction. You can't burn fat. You can't absorb glucose. You can't nothing. If your gut is shot, you can't even have good mental health. You can't have anything if your gut health is shot.
Right. Got to get that together first.
Yeah. Building the gut microbiome is the key thing.
Yeah.
Fixing that.
Ashley says he's very knowledgeable. Is he a health coach? Does he have a medical degree? I'm curious of his background qualifications. This is very helpful.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor. I'm a nutritionist and fitness coach.
And he helps people lose weight and heal their health chronic conditions.
Right. I got a bunch of messages popping up here too.
Popping up in this live or somewhere else?
No, just on my end. So pretty much I'm sitting here at my workstation and I get messages all day.
Okay.
But this is from a lady here.
Wait a minute, I gotta say something. Tropical Jeremiah, I see you just joined. I'm tired of you ignoring my inbox. Now that ain't nice. You could at least say you're not interested in coming on my podcast. No. So anyway, sorry. I was about to call you Tribe by Noir. Remson, so but you have a certificate though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now the thing too is most of most of what I know, most nutritionists don't. You can get
Yeah.
you can get certified as a nutritionist. That's how you get your foot in the door to get the official title. But a lot of what I'm talking about, at least when I went through the certification, you never learn about, right?
Mm-hmm.
A great example is this. Where does omega-3 essential fatty acids come from? They'll say, oh, well, you can get it in grass-fed beef. You can get it in wild-caught salmon. Well, where does it come from? What makes it? You don't know. A lot of people don't know. Well, you get it from good fat sources. When people say good fat source, good fats, what does it mean, good fats? What makes a fat a good fat? A lot of people don't know. A lot of nutritionists don't even know. Omega-3 essential fatty acids, right, is made inside the chloroplast of plants and comes out in the form of EPA, right? The reason why wild-caught salmon would contain omega-3 essential fatty acids is because they consume the algae that contains the chloroplast that make the omega-3 essential fatty acids.
Mm-hmm.
With grass-fed cows, well, you can find omega-3 essential fatty acids in what they call grass-fed beef because the grass contains the chloroplasts that make the omega-3 essential fatty acids. A lot of nutritionists don't know that. They never tell you that. So you got all the keto experts, they're like wild-caught this and grass-fed that, but they never tell you why.
Right.
Diabetes, what do they tell you? Oh, you avoid carbs.
Right.
They never tell you
Exactly.
what I just told you,
Mm-hmm.
right? They just tell people generally stick to low glycemic index foods that are, avoid fruit. If you're going to eat fruit, just stick to the berries because they're lowest on the glycemic index. That's what they tell you. They tell you how to treat type 2 diabetes, how to live with it. And they don't teach you how to reverse it,
Exactly.
right? Because you're not going to find that out through institutional means, which is why your doctor doesn't even know that, right? You have to dig for this information. The histamine
Mm-hmm.
allergy, reversing food allergies, autoimmune disease. A lot of people don't know. When you look up what is the cure to said autoimmune disease, there's never a cure for any of them. They never say, oh, this is the cure. That's the cure. They never say that. They say, well, the cure at this time is unclear. The direct pathways of reversal is unclear.
Right.
What do you mean by that? Why is it unclear? Right? Technically, they're correct, but the reason why it's unclear in a clinical pharmaceutical sense, there is not a medication or a surgery that you can take to reverse these things. But they don't know enough about the gut microbiome to definitively say how to reverse it. Because the thing is there is no one pathway that reverses any of these things, right? If you are a cardiologist, you're going to be just looking at the heart and the cardiovascular system. But what if fatty liver is the thing that's causing your high blood pressure and heart problems? What if it's something going on in your gut and your digestive tract? Oh, well, you got to go to a gastroenterologist. Well, you had hormonal problems. Oh, well, then you got to go to an endocrinologist. What if your hormonal problems are being caused by what's happening in your gut, right? You got a kidney doctor, you got a cardiovascular doctor, you got neurological doctors, surgeons, all this type of stuff, and everyone's siloed. So if you have health problems where the functioning of one thing is leading issues with another, and that's leaving issues with another, and then you got all these effects that are affecting those different areas, you end up running all over the place with different individual doctors, and to the point you got a soup going, you got 8 chefs working in the same pot. And then one chef, they're putting a certain amount, they put a certain amount of salt in the pot and they stir it around, and then another chef, they didn't see that they put the salt. Huh? And you see one chef, they put salt, but then the second chef, they didn't see how much salt the original chef put in. And they go add more salt, and then all know the salt, the pot, there's too much salt. Why is it so salty? I didn't put that much salt. Oh, I did, my mistake. Well, you can't take Take the salt out now, you just got the salt in there. So now it's just going to be real salty. So now you got to add extra water, or you got to add things to counteract the salt. What happens? You make too much. Now the flavoring isn't right. It's too mild. So you keep adding stuff trying to balance it out, and you're just making more of the soup. Now the pot's overfilling. At what point do you scrap the stew? Right? Now imagine, and that's just a conflict between two chefs. What happens when you got 8 of them in there? Right? So this is like one of the fundamental problems with how our healthcare system works. There's a culture that sits on top of the science. So what I say about saturated fat and cholesterol, people are arguing with me about it. Like, oh, you think meat and animal products is the problem of everything. It's like, it's not the problem with everything, but yeah, you eat a lot of it and it's causing you problems. It's not human food. Where human beings are biologically herbivorous, but culturally omnivorous, right? So the same way you have a certain culture that dictates the way that you eat and is causing you to have certain problems, doctors have a certain culture that they have, which narrows their scope of vision. If all you can do to help people is prescribe medications or surgeries, well, then what happens when those two things don't work? What do? Oh, we don't have a solution, right? So I'm not a doctor, so I don't diagnose people. I don't run tests. I don't operate medical equipment. I don't do surgeries, prescribe medications. I don't do all that type of stuff. I'm not a doctor, right?
Right.
What I do is come up with solutions, natural solutions, lifestyle solutions, dietary solutions, and exercise routine that would help to fix these issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. Thank you so much. I keep seeing something about seafood. Somebody keep asking about, is seafood good to eat? This is a plant-based podcast. No. What's your thoughts on seafood? And then there's one more question, and then I think we'll bring it to Art. What are you on time? Are you good to go till 1, or would you like to wrap it up like in the next 5 minutes?
No, I got time.
Okay, so we can go till 1.
By the way, how's my audio?
It's good for me.
Okay.
Are y'all good? Y'all hear him good? There was a time where we could hear you, but the picture quality was like pausing a little bit, but it corrected itself, but we were able to hear you the whole time.
Gotcha.
So that's a question about seafood, and I'm gonna read this other question. And you can answer it after. What seasonings are bad for you? I noticed that you said you use taco seasoning, and I've been following Dr. Sebi's nutritional guide. It says no to a lot of the seasonings. So we'll do the seafood first and then address that one.
So the problem with the seafood is the environment that you get the sea creatures from. So what happens when you're eating from a toxic and acidic body of water? Let's say you're eating crab, lobster, shrimp, etc. They're the scavengers of the ocean. If the scavengers of the ocean feed off of the waste products of the ocean, well, then what are you eating? Right? You eat from the same body of water that you dump your garbage in. Right? So when you think you're recycling, you're throwing out your metal cans, your plastic bottles, right? All those petrochemicals and whatnot, and they're going floating around in the ocean. You think those things don't oxidize? You don't think that thing don't break down in those little particles and plastics and aluminum and mercury and all that type of stuff? Those xenoestrogens, you don't think that seeps into the water? And then you think the fish don't ingest it?
Right.
So you got rubber, plastic, all types of metals and whatnot, just fermenting in the ocean. And the ocean is becoming more acidic, which causes the more oxidation of whatever's in it, which speeds up the process of leaching chemicals into the water, and then you're eating that. Right?
Wow.
So what is that? So what risk do you take on by doing that? Right? So that's number one. So you have to think about, okay, cool. So let's say, why I eat fish. Well, what is the benefit that you're getting from fish? What's the benefit? Well, it's a good source of protein. Well, you can track protein consumption with illness. Populations that consume the most amount of protein end up having the most amounts of illnesses. Because guess what uses proteins in order to build itself? Viruses, harmful bacteria, tumors, cancerous growths, all of the fibroids, all of these things use protein in order to build, in order to make copies of their cells and grow. So people are like, oh, sugar feeds these things. Well, sugar is one of the things, but see, sugar, which is scientifically known as glucose, is not enough to build new cells. You need something else along with it. So in order to build new actual cells, well, glucose doesn't really build new actual cells. Glucose fuels the process of building new cells, but you need actual materials. You need minerals and you need protein, right? So the minerals is like the spine, it's like the backbone of the new cells is being built, but then you need the proteins in order to create those cells. So if you have an abundance of protein, you're getting way more protein than you need. Well, your body is going to be able to synthesize a lot of extra cells that you may not want to be building, right? Believe it or not, human beings actually have a pretty poor fat metabolism. Human beings do not have a good fat metabolism. Well, because you're herbivorous. You're not supposed to be eating, large amounts of fat anyway. You really only need about 1 gram of fat per kilogram of lean mass. So if you've got like 40% of your macros coming from fat, which if you're eating fish, chances are that's what's happening. Because people talk about lean fish. Fish are very fatty, first of all, right? So you're eating a bunch of fish, you're getting a lot of fat. And then you're getting a lot of fatty oils, and then you're getting a lot of toxins along with it. So it's not really doing you any favors.
Right.
It's not the worst thing you can eat,
Yeah.
but it's not doing you any favors.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm wrong, I would love to see the scientific evidence that shows, hey, according to our peer-reviewed studies, we have determined that fish consumption is directly causal and strongly correlated to reversing cancer or reversing diabetes or whatever the case is. I haven't seen that evidence. Right? I haven't seen that evidence. So I'm evidence-based, right? What does the science say?
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from that.
The other question about the seasonings and Dr. Sebi saying don't, wait, he says don't use seasonings?
I don't know what seasonings.
He says no to a lot of seasonings, not all.
Oh, I mean, I don't know what those seasonings are.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, look, I'm a fan of seasonings that are clinically demonstrated to have positive effects on human health. If they've got positive effects, they help to reverse illnesses, I'm in favor of them. If they don't, I'm not in favor of them, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much my ideology there. I don't really have I don't just follow a list of like a bunch of things that somebody suggests, just because I don't find that very helpful. I need to see some receipts.
Yeah.
If a lot of the things.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of the things that Dr. Sebi says, he's right for the most part. Philosophically, he's correct. Alkalizing the body, yes, is a major key to reversing human illnesses. 100%, yeah. That is one of the points in the triad of human health, right? Alkalizing your body, balancing your pH level. 100%, yes, absolutely. However, there's a big difference between alkaline and alkalizing. Right?
Break it down.
The Sebi list includes key limes. Key limes have a pH score of like 3 or 4. That's acidic. But when ingested, when you ingest key lime juice, it has an alkalizing effect on the human body.
Oh, so it's acidic. It's acidic, but it turns into an alkaline once
it's an alkaline forming element in the body, which then incentivizes the excretion of acid out of the body or the conversion of acids back into alkaline substances.
Wow.
Right. So you could say ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That is the energy form that is needed in order to produce muscular contractions. Right. That ATP facilitates nervous system signaling in lean tissue, right? Once that ATP is used, you lose a phosphate and it becomes ADP, adenosine diphosphate. It has to go through the metabolic cycle, pick up another phosphate, and can be converted back into adenosine triphosphate. That conversion process has to be facilitated by glucose, oxygen, these things that are considered alkaline forming substances, along with things like calcium, magnesium, potassium, etc. So when they're combined with these elements, they're alkaline forming. Potassium's alkaline forming. Magnesium, manganese, iron, copper, alkaline forming. In proportionate to one another. Calcium, alkaline forming. Calcium, magnesium, and potassium are buffers, meaning they actually reduce acid levels. They help alkalize the body. They're balancing mechanisms. So when you think about something like Pepto-Bismol or any type of antacid or antacid, right? What are they? Calcium bicarbonate is a magnesium supplement, right? Or some type of potassium. Is one of the three or all three, right? Look at the ingredients. Because it's a buffer and it brings down acid. So even if somebody has like gout, GERD, these issues that are a direct result of acidity, or what happens when you have a diet like that is heavy in fruit that has these alkaline forming substances, including those key limes, that helps to bring down that acid and reverse those acidic symptoms.
That's great. Thank you for letting me know that. So does that apply? You said key limes, so that applies to like oranges and lemons too?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
About them being acidic, but once you digest them, they're alkalizing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty dope. Thank you so much. This is great. This is some great info. I hope you guys learned so much. A lot of comments were said about you just having a lot of knowledge and just, being the dope man that you are. So I'm going to bring it to a close. This was great. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Remson and I are actually going to be, today is my podcast, part 2 with him, Plant-Based with Nicole. But Remson and I are going to be, probably in about 3 weeks or so, doing a bi-weekly live Q&A. Okay? So, oh, by the way, Remson, we might have to change our name because I saw someone else has that name on YouTube, and I'm like, I don't want no copyright issues. So we might have to come up with another name. But anyway, yeah, so you guys stay tuned for that. We'll post flyers, when that's going to come and everything. So that's going to be interesting because we can always learn so much from Remson. Like each time I talk to him, it's only been twice now, but he's breaking it down for us. And I know a lot of you guys learned a lot today. And next time, y'all need to follow directions, though. No, I'm just kidding. I said put the questions in the question box. No. But yeah, this is great. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And stay tuned. Remson, I'm just going to announce let me just formally say thank you again, Remson. This is great. I can never learn too much from you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you taking the time because I know you're a busy man, coaching all these wonderful people, getting them in shape, helping them heal their bodies, so you took the time to talk to me today, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
and thank you guys. Yeah. And thank you for everybody that tuned in today and that are watching now and that will watch later. Thank you guys so much. Share this live because there's a lot of people that can benefit from the information he broke down for us today. So thank you so much. So Remson, if you want to get off, I'm just going to announce my guest, but if you want to stay, you're welcome.
Gotcha.
So up next on Plant-Based with Nicole, I will be interviewing, oh Lord Jesus, I done forgot who I was interviewing, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. I'll be interviewing Gin and Juice next Sunday at 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST. So make sure you come back next Sunday, and then stay tuned for Remson and I, our bi-weekly live that we'll be doing Q&A with you guys. So stay tuned for that, and you all have a wonderful day, and God bless you all. bless you.